Welcome everyone to the Elevator Show, and I'm Kirk Buchner along with Chris Mouradian. And what we do every month is we look at that Hall of Fame elevator, that mythical creature in the sky. Who went up, who pressed a button up, who pressed a button down in regards to their respective Hall of Fame candidacy. But Chris, I told you before that I'm gonna throw you not really a curveball, but I want your take on something before we begin. All the news is about the big trade in basketball, but in your world, as the president of the Vancouver Canucks fan club, Wisconsin chapter.
Yes.
It might be a group of only one of you, but I don't know.
Could be.
The feud between Elias Pettersson and J.T. Miller. Yeah, sometimes I always want to go with the actor T.J. Miller, but I don't know why I sort of do that. I guess that's over because one of them finally got traded. Miller is now with the Rangers. And I want your take as a Canucks fan. Are you happy? How do you feel?
Sure. Disappointed that it got to this point. They were, I feel, a better team with the two of them playing together when they were both motivated to play, not motivated against each other. Of the two to move out, Miller would have been my choice based on age and salary and things like that. So, it had to come to this resolution. So, yeah, I'm the guy that got moved is the guy I was hoping got moved. It's just, how this got to this point and got so public with it as well is really just it's a mess, and it's frustrating as a fan. You had a team that was a game away from being in the Western Conference Finals this last year. Now they're on the outside looking in with the playoffs. It's, as the team president Jim Rutherford said, this was something that was dividing the locker room. So it's a resolution that was needed. It's a situation that never should have occurred, and we're never going to know the root cause of it. But when you have two of your top players that can't coexist within the framework of a team, that's really disappointing. So I mean, there's blame to go around to both players. Still wouldn't be surprised if they're not done moving players out.
There was a second big trade right after.
Yeah, they did. They took the first that they got in the Miller trade and went and bought another Pettersson. So they currently have three Petterssons on the roster.
Two named Elias. That's great.
Two Elias and one Marcus. So, feel bad for Shorty up there trying to call those games with all those Petterssons on the ice.
Pettersson to Pettersson. Pettersson gets it back.
Yeah. So, so it's a mess. Their Vezina caliber goaltender, back from injury, just still doesn't look right. So he's not really been playing like he's been playing in the past. You got Brock Besser, one of their top scoring forwards, that's unrestricted at the end of the year. So there's the contract situation hanging over him with the deadline coming up, the trade deadline. Does he stay? Does he go? So the whole team is underperformed this year. A lot of it has to do with just the whole Pettersson Miller situation, but hopefully this is behind them now, and the players that they brought in, a couple of younger guys, Mancini, Title from New York, and then Pettersson, if they can re-sign him on the D line, should help solidify the top four there. So we'll see where it goes, but it's dragged on for all season. It's been public most of the season, and it just you hate to speculate what caused it, but clearly something.
Usually, it's when one of them sleeps with the other player's wife.
That's been known to happen.
I'm not even joking there. That happens a lot.
Yeah, with other players and other situations. So I mean, Miller took a leave of absence earlier in the year, really unscheduled, and unexplained, really, for lack of a better term. Which, it's his privacy. You respect it, but you have to kind of think that had something to do with the overarching situation out there. So, yeah, let's drop the puck and see what happens here.
There you go. There you go. Well, so I guess that's a good segue because I want to talk about, because this is my first elevator down and maybe just elevator implodes. The internet on Saturday night, I did not believe it. I think everyone thought that this was colossal bullshit. It was not. Luka Dončić has just been traded, or not just been, as we're doing this, it's 2 days removed from a trade that some people are calling the biggest in NBA history. I don't know if that is, but it's the most shocking one because nobody saw this coming, probably including the players themselves. Definitely Davis didn't see this coming. LeBron, from what we understand, was not informed about it. And the way I can piece together and how this all went down, because originally I was thinking I was going to have an elevator up for the Lakers GM, Rob Pelinka. But then I thought about it. After I'm doing more research on this, he didn't do anything to orchestrate this trade other than say, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the GM down in Dallas, but he was the one that was
Harrison
driving it. Yeah.
So he came up with it, floated it by his by ownership, and I forgot Cuban sold this team. We got part ownership, so he didn't know about it either, which is at least sort of takes. And he was very quick to say, "I had nothing to do with this."
Yeah,
and I believe him. Mark Cuban is some political people may not like him. I think from everything I've learned about him as an owner in his days in Dallas, a lot of people loved him. So
yes, it seemed like the players were very appreciative of his ownership there. So that's always great when the owners kind of got you back there.
Yeah. So this is all from Nico, and he basically the trade. I'm not even going to because it's a three team trade with Utah getting some picks. But going to Dallas is Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first. Lakers get Luka, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris. That's all you got? And I'm not saying that about LA. I'm talking about Dallas here.
Yeah.
Nobody saw this coming because he never floated it to anybody. Talking about Nico. Didn't float it to anyone. Didn't tell anybody. All the other GMs had no idea this was coming. If he would have put this in an open, or just sort of like make this open. And I guess if you really want to get rid of a guy, you're thinking, okay, look, let's just get rid of him and eliminate the white noise. I understand that. But I'm sorry. It's like you traded Marvin Gardens for Boardwalk. I mean, Marvin Gardens is still pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's not Boardwalk.
Yeah. Trying to piece together all the different takes from the different writers out there that follow the NBA. It sounds like that Nico just wanted Anthony Davis. That was his. If he was going to move Dončić, it was going to be for Davis. That there wasn't going to be anybody else that was considered. And I don't know if that's the best move as a GM, not to try to shop.
This is my elevator down. I mean, I wouldn't trust this guy to manage a target at this point. I mean, like, you don't trade a 31-year-old superstar and give up your better 25-year-old superstar. You don't do this. And if you are going to, where your hand is forced and you have to do it, see Butler, comma Jimmy, you got to get better than this. I guarantee you, when Pat Riley jettisons, nice English, Kirk, Jimmy Buckets, he's going to get a lot more than this. Hell, the Timberwolves got, it was Utah who got it. They got 5 first-rounders for Gobert. This makes absolutely no sense. Dallas, some people think that they might be better short-term with Davis. Maybe. I don't know. Kyrie, you got that head case there. And it takes nothing for him to sort of like be unhappy. He was clearly happy playing with Luka, from what we can tell. No wonder that like LeBron wasn't consulted. If I've got this moron willing to do this, I'm not wasting any time. I'm going to do this right away and apologize later.
Yeah.
He probably didn't have to. It's like, I'm sure LeBron's smart in some things.
he seems like his feelings were hurt that he wasn't consulted, which sometimes the players think their input is required for decision making here.
LeBron's one of those guys, and to be fair,
Yeah.
he's probably earned that. But I figure if I'm Palinka, I'm thinking I don't have time.
Yeah.
This guy is giving me this gift. I'm doing this, and like the old saying, like shoot first, ask questions later.
Better to ask for forgiveness and ask for permission.
In this case, yes. I'd like to think that LeBron gets it, because as much as he seemed to be tight with Davis, you see them do a lot of things socially. But
yeah, he was definitely a key
great.
for bringing Davis over in the first place. So I know that was probably some of the reason why he felt betrayed is the right word, but
blindsided
disappointed
might be the right word.
Blindsided, yeah.
But
apparently there was just the two ownership principals and the two GMs that were able to keep this between the four of them until it was announced on Saturday, which is in this day and age wild. Really.
That's why nobody believed it.
Right.
Myself included. I mean, I was probably one of 2,000 or 200,000 people saying this guy shams the NBA insider. ESPN. Oh, he's been hacked. I think I said that twice. Like, it can't be true. So short term, okay, maybe Dallas is going to go to the playoffs. The Lakers are going to go to the playoffs. Neither winning the title this year.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen because teams still have to learn how to gel.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, LeBron and Dwayne Wade didn't gel right away yet either. It took them year two. But this guy, I don't think he was ever in consideration for a basketball hall at this point. But there's like a 1 in 1,000 chance that this goes Dallas's way. I honestly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch and see how this turns out and see whether this guy's the genius behind the scenes that nobody knew about, or if he kind of set his team back several years here.
I think it's the latter. I don't see how it's not that. But anyway, that's my first elevator down.
Sure. Yeah. Well, what goes down must come up, right? So we'll stick with basketball here. And we had the All-Star teams announced, starters and reserves, and a couple of first-time All-Stars this year that wanted to mention here tonight. A couple of names that are maybe a little bit off the beaten path, and that's Alperen Sengun and Jalen Williams.
Yep. Two very good players, especially Sengun. I'm a fan of his.
Yeah, for sure. He was somebody that was starting to get consideration last All-Star game. Broke through this year, so it's first time. The Rockets are built a really strong team down there this year. They're going to be it's going to be a tough out for anybody that meets up with them. And one of the reasons is their young forward there, Sengun. And then Jalen Williams was kind of a surprise for me.
You're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, all good.
So he was kind of a surprise for me. A little bit of an Oklahoma City, I don't want to say like hometown pick or something, but with as well as the team is playing, they definitely deserve to have more than one All-Star. And with SGA already being a starter, adding him in on the bench there, I thought was warranted. And, after kind of looking into it a little further, and a good step for him as a player.
Yeah, no, and I like those. I almost considered going that route also, because you're never making the Basketball Hall of Fame unless you've been at least an All-Star once.
It seems like you have to start with being an All-Star, and then you kind of move up to a third team and the second team. There seems to be a progression. There are exceptions. Players that
New Ginobili comes to mind, but
Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
Wembanyama.
Say that 5 times fast.
And it's just Giannis. Come on. Yeah, we grew up with the,
You know what I did? Because I wanted to make sure I got that right. There's actually a YouTube thing, how to pronounce Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I was actually practicing Antetokounmpo, Antetokounmpo.
Yep.
Do you have any more for the from the All Star?
Yep. So we're gonna go back to the East now here with Cade Cunningham and Tyler Harrell.
Yeah.
Funny little story about Tyler coming back at the end, but Cade Cunningham was top pick with a Detroit team, so there was a little bit of concern that their record would maybe hold them back a little bit with receiving personal accolades like that. But we have to see him, and then Tyler Hero from Miami.
Yeah.
So he's actually from the area around here. Went to Franklin, which is for me just a few blocks to the east there. But I actually grew up with his dad, and we played baseball together. So I've known his dad since I was back in high school. Not in touch with him anymore, but just always kind of followed up with his career, and happy to see success for somebody that I knew growing up. So it's happy for both of them. They both have put the work in, and getting those first All-Star game appearances is big milestones for both of them on their path forward here.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good. I've got one also elevator up from the All-Star getting his fifth is Karl Anthony Towns. And with Towns, I think it was on the show. I can't remember if I said this to you or Evan, but that trade with Kat and Julius Randle is going to be an interesting opportunity for them both. And it's clearly worked out well for one and not so well for the other. Julius Randle still, I mean, if you just look at his overall stat line, it doesn't look that bad, but it's dropping, and Minnesota is definitely not where they were last year. New York, however, has got Towns is the healthiest he's been in I don't know how long. He's putting up the best numbers probably the last 4 or 5 years. He could potentially add another All NBA the way he's sort of going, and if he keeps up this pace, and New York has a deep playoff run, which they could, I think Kat, out of all the All-Star selections, is the biggest Hall of Fame beneficiary for the elevator, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he came in, and that team obviously got so much better with him in the middle there. I think it just changed the whole dynamic for the Knicks. Right. They were a very good team last year. Now they are a legit contender in the East, and a lot of it has to do with that trade and what Kat's brought out there. And yeah, I mean that's a great pick there from the East.
Okay, let's see what do you got next?
I got some football for some ups here if you want to do that, or unless you want to stick with that, unless you guys else with basketball.
I do have one more for basketball.
So I'll stick with basketball, then I'll let you roll with that.
Okay. It's elevator down is Jimmy Butler, who I talked about earlier. I'm a fan of Jimmy. I like him. I think playoff Jimmy's built different. He is an incredible player, but he's also on the Hall of Fame fence. I think he's a little bit over towards that. And again, as Chris and I always point out, we're not even, at least with football, we know who's voting. We don't know who's voting in basketball. We don't know how many. We don't know if it's somebody with a dartboard. It could be anything. It could be me. It's not me. But it's a bad look when you're this selfish. Wanting a trade out, I get that. If you don't like your employer and you're in a position where maybe you can find a better one for you, do it. But it's quite another to kind of quit on your team. Yeah. And he's somewhere in that in-between phase. Clearly he doesn't want to be, well, we know he doesn't want to be there. He's made that abundantly clear. And he's trying to lock horns with one guy who generally doesn't lose when you lock horns with him, and Pat Riley. So I think the narrative on him is certainly taking a bit of a beating. Luckily, there's been so many other things going on in basketball, though. Jimmy's got to be thinking, like, I haven't been traded yet. Like, what the hell? especially based on, I mean, we just saw Zach LaVine traded, De'Aaron Fox traded, and of course the monster trade with the Mavs and Lakers. But someone's going to get Jimmy. I could very well have him as an elevator up, depending on where he lands.
Sure.
Very quickly. But this might, I think he's still going to get into the Hall of Fame no matter what. It's just a matter of whether some people in that room, if there is one, might just sort of hold this against him. I mean, we saw that in football with T.O.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Grant, I think T.O. is a better football player than Jimmy Butler is a basketball player.
Yeah, better resume for sure. At this point.
Yes.
So Jimmy, yeah, I mean, he's been around the league a little bit now. I mean, this is not his first team. He's had success, but he's never been able to kind of be the one, that he thinks he is in his mind.
But to be fair, though, he's also never had like a super team around him, and him getting to the NBA Finals was a very impressive thing. And that was I don't say all Jimmy, but
he had a big hand in it. Yeah, for sure.
A huge hand in that. And I don't think that can sort of be forgotten. And I mean, like if I had a vote, he's probably getting my vote at some point. But again, we're trying to read the tea leaves and then read a room that we don't even know how big it is. So It's so tricky whenever we do anything in basketball. But it's possible that some people who are decision makers may look at the way he's acting right now, hold that against him later. It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, for sure. We'll see. But yeah, I like your counterpoint that where he ends up could next month make him an elevator up. That's very interesting and
very possible.
Yeah, Thursday. We'll find out by then. What's going on with the rest of the year.
Probably. Okay, so I think you have football next.
I do, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to start with Tampa Bay Buccaneers All-Pro tackle Tristan Wirfs.
Oh, love him. Okay.
Yeah. So he's the first offensive lineman to be named first team All-Pro at both left and right tackle. Okay. So, he's a young player. I think he's like his fifth year. Mm-hmm. Got three All-Pros already, two different positions. Being the first to do it at the two different tackle positions. That's really got to kind of set him up. The team itself now, a lot of success. I mean, they were a playoff team this year. Almost advanced to the second round, not quite there yet. So teams still got to do some building around them. But he always got a chance to continue on with these All-Pro selections at premium positions here. Being a tackle is just gonna, as long as he kind of maintains what he's doing, gets some talent around him, just gonna continue to build that Hall of Fame case. So hope for him that he's able to get himself onto a championship team at some point in his career. But for now, just keep building those first team All-Pros and see where that takes you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have more base? Do you have more football?
I do have football. Okay. Yeah, I have two more, but they're kind of tied together.
Yeah, do those, and then I'll do my football.
Sure. So looking at the Kansas City Chiefs interior line with Joe Thuney and Creed Humphrey, they both received their third All-Pro selections. Second All-Pro selections this recently here, and they have the chance now to go on and play on Sunday for the Super Bowl, which again, in addition to All-Pros, championships really play a big key into how a player's career is looked at after they retired. So if they can come back, be part of a three-peat here with Kansas City, in the second team, to have a NFL championship three-peat, definitely something that would play well into their future going forward after they retire. So those two interior linemen were my opinion. I think for Thuney, it could be his fifth championship if they're able to pull it off this Sunday. So that's big for an interior guy like that.
Who are you cheering for?
Ty. Not a fan of Philly,
Yeah.
and tired of Kansas City. If I had to pick, maybe choose one of the two. I guess I would go with Kansas City simply because I dig Andy Reid.
Oh, okay. That's a good answer. So I got two elevator downs in football, and I think you know what one of them is.
Yep, I probably have the same one here. No,
Okay, so
so
yeah, we finally, I think this is the first time in probably like 20 of the, like, not 20 shows, but like 20 people that we've named where we
yeah,
overlapped. And you sent
mhm.
this to me right away. And because I think you heard that first. And then it's like, well, obviously, I know where you're going with this and not where I'm going with this. And what's the deal with football players? What's the deal with football players and massage parlors? Uh, Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
Oh, man. If I were to pick a player's 3 to 5 year peak kicker, I'd want Tucker.
Yeah, he was automatic, and not just the chip shots. I mean, the record for the longest field goal.
Yep. Yeah, he's got that. He doesn't have, but we know one thing right now, at least with the Pro Football Hall of Fame, what they look down on a little bit more than other things they could possibly look down on. Insert your own social commentary there, here, whatever. But look, sexual misconduct of any kind, and look, I'm not going to try to kink shame anyone. You people are into weird shit. You're into weird shit. Great, do your weird shit. Do it consensually. That's it. I shouldn't have to make a statement on this for people to follow. I don't understand why Deshaun Watson and now Justin Tucker feel the need, and I'm just going to presume them guilty. I just am. Well, Watson we kind of know, but with Tucker, let's just assume it is. And I think I think Jack put out a tweet in our group where somebody uncovered it, where somebody said this in 2021 about him.
Yeah, it was one of the things I was going to mention, that even though the news kind of broke over the last week or so, there was rumblings or posts or whatever you want to call it that go back several years where this type of stuff was hinted at, um, and for it to kind of stay under wraps for several years here. Um, yeah, I mean, it seems like something that could be relatively easy to confirm. If they say he's been banned from certain places, call those places up and say, hey, did you ban this guy? But we don't know what the legal system's got to play out. The NFL's investigation's got to play out. Um, you know, Locally here, we had you talk about kickers and misconduct. Remember Brandon McManus with I think it was Jacksonville. He had signed with, maybe I think he was with Jacksonville,
Oh,
but then he
yeah,
signed with
yeah. That was
Washington, and
months
then
ago.
some
Yeah, yeah.
some stuff came out. Um, he ended up, I believe, settling without any sort of admission of guilt. So you never know if that's just it's cheaper to just pay it as opposed to paying the lawyer bills and dragging it through the courts, or what it was. But he was allowed back into the league this year, and a team that generally doesn't dabble with that kind of sketchy type of off-field stuff. Green Bay signed it, and maybe it was just desperation at the kicker spot. Maybe it was the fact that they really felt like the story was that they got from the league and from the player was legit. But kickers and stuff here, that's kind of
But
weird.
he didn't have six accusers, right? It was just the one.
I don't know the number, but it wasn't quite to the level of what Tucker has been accused of here for sure. But it's just kind of coincidental that you have a couple of kickers here with some misconduct stuff within such a short period of time.
It's again such a weird. I will never understand why athletes sort of have to, especially when women are. Let's be blunt. I'm just going to tell it like it is. Women are throwing themselves at you. You don't need to do this, but I guess maybe you need to create some kind of chase because it's always so easy.
Yeah, could be.
I'm not a psychiatrist. I've had to work hard for every woman I ever got. I mean, look. So, I mean,
Yeah, we're not here for our looks.
I don't even have a voice for radio, but I will never understand that. And will that keep him out? I'm sure there's some people in that room because we know who people are in that room are going to say, forget it. We know that some people, and I've had I'm sure I could repeat this. He said that on my show because I asked Ken Crippens, who's now a voter on for the veterans
Blue Ribbon Committee. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, on the blue ribbon thing, and he said he only looks at what they do on the field.
Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure that's what
it's not a wrong
bylaws are
but,
supposed to
yeah
supposed to say. And obviously that came up with one of the senior candidates this year.
Jim Tyrer. It's
yeah,
but it's I think CTE, which is what we assume he has with Tyrer. It's one thing when we're talking about sexual misconduct from a guy who's not hit in the head. I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for this guy. I really don't. Somewhere Harrison Butker was thinking, like, really, you made a big deal about my speech, a Catholic speech in a Catholic school. Not that I'm necessarily, I wasn't a fan of that speech either, for those wondering, but I could care less. Yeah, every athlete, I'm sure, always has a teammate who's sort of like one of those Jesus guys. Great. They probably don't care as long as it doesn't affect any, like the internal camaraderie, right? That's why none of the Kirk Chiefs cared what he said.
Yeah. And the look, the time and place for things, it was the time and the place for it.
That particular thing, I mean, I don't agree with it, but I don't have to. Whatever. I mean, that was, if any story in 2024 was blown out of proportion, I think that was the one.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So I have another elevator down. This is actually based on the field. And as you mentioned, Super Bowl's this week. So we're recording this before the Super Bowl. And a team that I think a lot of us expected to be there. I know I did. I'll also say this. I should also do Super Bowl predictions every year. And then people don't bet on it because I'm always wrong. I had Detroit versus Buffalo. Obviously, that did not happen. Yeah. Maybe also, too, because growing up in Toronto, those are the two blue-collar cities. It just kind of felt like a great story in my head. Two teams that never won a Super Bowl. I have to specify Super Bowl because Buffalo's an AFL champion and Detroit's got
NFL championships. Yeah.
Right. But in that game that Detroit lost, that was pretty much the fault of one guy, and that's Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Goff, who I think people forget, if there was a first half MVP, Goff would have got some votes. He was incredible throughout the season. Now, granted, when he got the weapons that he has, you sort of expect him to be. But Washington came out with a fantastic game plan, and they had Goff beat himself. If you're any position in football, or really in any sport for that matter, if you're a quarterback, you're judged on your rings, or at least Super Bowl appearances. This was his best chance. We don't know that Detroit's going to come out like this again. We never know. There's always things that change like that in the National Football League. He blew it.
Yeah.
Plain and simple, he blew it.
Yeah, teams may bring back the majority, the core, whatever you want to call it, but the team's never the same. And you just get that, you had that one chance for that with that team. And once you lose, or after Sunday, one of these teams will win. Even after that, the team, you bring back the majority of players, all of your important guys. It's not the same dynamic. It's not the same chemistry. Something changes, and that's why repeats and potentially three-peats are so rare nowadays. So,
sorry, Winnie wants to make an appearance. For those listening, it's Winnie the Mini Dachshund who I sort of have to keep her here so that she doesn't decide to make a lot of noise.
All good.
Yep.
So it is disappointing. Obviously, Detroit thought, their fans they thought this was the year, and they probably should have been. And they go home at one and done again in the playoffs, and
Mhm.
it's got to sting, and now they've lost a lot of their brain trust out of that team there from
Both coordinators.
both coordinators, and so we'll see what they come back with.
Yeah, I've only got one left. What do you got?
I got a baseball that wanted to mention here, kind of a little bit off the beaten path kind of thoughts, but so we had the Hall of Fame announcement for baseball earlier in January,
Mm-hmm.
and Andrew Jones and Chase Utley.
Okay,
So
yeah.
neither of them had enough votes this year to be selected. Both are getting there, at least surprisingly jumped significantly from where he was last year. But the ballot for 26, the first time eligibles is very weak next year. There's no obvious candidates here. So those players that kind of finished at the top and just missed are going to have a lot of opportunities to possibly move forward here. I think it opens the door really for Andrew Jones to finally finally be elected here. And just because of how weak the ballot appears to look right now, I see there's an outside chance that Chase Utley somehow finds the support, given how much he improved year over year from last year.
He could 20% easily.
Yeah, and I look at Utley. He's maybe the third or fourth second baseman in line for me on who I think should be in there. I think Whitaker and Bobby Gritchard should be in there ahead of him. Kind of Kent and Utley kind of fall next in line for me, in my opinion. But he's got a chance. He's on the ballot. We don't know who the ballot will be for the Eras Committee. I think it's the contemporary era, which is 1980 going forward. So it's possible Lou Whitaker is on there. Bobby Gritchard. Yeah, you just kind of stack the two of them up and just, how did Lou Whitaker just slip through this? The way he did. Kind of looking back at the ballots and when he was on there and when he fell off, it's really disappointing that some of these players just don't get the chance to stick around for a second or third ballot, because I think the more people would have talked about Whitaker and kind of compared his stats and his play and his accomplishments up against other second basemen, the decision would have been made by many select voters to add him to their ballots. So
yeah, and like you said, we've talked about, and long before we ever met, I mean, probably we're noticing that, oh my God, some of these ballots are so loaded. This might be the weakest ballot I've ever seen coming up. So yeah, those two, I think, I totally agree with you. I think we might see some other significant jumps up. I mean, Pettit jumped up 10%.
Yeah, he did. He was his support was a surprise as well for me. He's pushing the upper end of his eligibility, I believe.
He is, but I mean, it's certainly possible, especially because I could be wrong on this. I actually should look this up to see if this is true or not. I think what we're seeing now is some of the people putting more, like using, because you can vote for up to 10 people, and obviously not all people do, but I should look that up to see if people are actually voting more. It wouldn't be that hard to figure out.
No, I mean, not all the ballots are made public, but the ones that are, you can kind of tell how many are.
But you can still tell, right? Because like at the end of the day, we know all the vote totals. We just divide them by the amount of voters that year. So actually, I'm going to do that for our next show, just to see. I'll just compare this year with 10 years ago, then 20 years ago, and see if there's a jump based on. Yeah. All right, there you go.
So Andy Pettit, this will be his 8th time, so he's got 8, 9, 10 to go. He's at 27%, almost 28%, 27.9. He was in 2024, he was at 13.5. So as you said, the really significant jump there. Chase Utley went from 28.8% up to 39.8%. So he's knocking on the door of 50% here.
Mm-hmm.
And then Andrew Jones is sitting at 66% this year. Didn't quite have the jump that the other two guys you mentioned did. He went 61 to 66%. So
yeah.
And then the first we didn't mention was Carlos Beltran.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think they'll figure they've punished him enough.
I think so.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, I think we were talking with the baseball team. We had done on the stream, but it's time to start beating the trash can for them.
That joke will never get old. Well, so I only have one left, unless you've got another.
Nope, that's it for me tonight.
Okay, so I'm just going to go into wrestling. This past weekend, it's my favorite wrestling show. I know you're not a wrestling guy, so I'll
old school wrestling back in the AWA days. That was what I grew up with.
Wow, you really are from Wisconsin.
That's right. Got just promotion out of Minnesota there. Yep.
There you go. Probably know the Crusher and the Bruiser.
Never, no, I never met them, but know of them very well. And Crusher was one of my favorites. Watching it with my dad and brother when we were young.
What was his promo? He's going to go out in polka and then find some fat woman to hang that night. He didn't say like that, but still, anyway.
Running up and down the lakefront with his quarter barrels on his shoulder. And
well, here's on my awful segue. Speaking of banging, because here's another, again, you don't want to hear me talk about sex, but here we are. Brock Lesnar. How familiar are you with the Janelle Grant lawsuit in the WWE against Vince McMahon?
No, I'm not going to say I'm familiar with it enough to comment.
Right, so putting it in sort of like an elevator speech. See the pun here?
Yeah.
Elevator joke. She sued or is suing McMahon for basically him using her as for sexual trafficking. Now, in the first lawsuit, because it said that McMahon had I can't believe I'm saying this shit out loud. Now I am going to kink shame. Send pictures of herself to Brock Lesnar. I think one of them was where she's taking a shit in the bathroom. As part of the amendment lawsuit, I can't believe I'm saying this. They apparently arranged for her to be with Brock. It didn't happen for whatever reason. Also, part of the whole thing was that Vince actually role played as Brock Lesnar and hurt her really bad. But anyway.
Yeah.
So this is the second year in a row that this stuff came out around the Royal Rumble. Last year, where it looked like Lesnar was supposed to enter, he didn't. And this came out, I think, the day before. I don't know whether they were planning it for him to be part of the Rumble or not, but either way, he's not. There's no way they're bringing him back under any circumstance. Period. Let alone inducting him into their Hall of Fame. Now, this, I don't know whether he's an MMA Hall of Famer or not, or UFC, or whether I know he's not, but because I think he only had a handful of fights. But WWE and UFC are owned by the same group now.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty much done for both. That's my now, and I can't believe I'm talking about kinks twice in a show. Next time we talk about the Kinks, I hope it's the Ray Davies Band. Way time for that one, huh?
Yeah, that's more than I knew and more than
wanted to know.
Yeah, we should have been.
There's way more worse stuff.
Yeah.
That I don't feel the need to sort of go into right now at this point. I I think I've sort of said why he's an elevator down, elevator done, elevator crashed. And I mean, at least he didn't do it, but I, I got no words, guys. I could just put my hands up like that emoji. I don't know what else to say other than what the fuck are you thinking, dude?
Yeah, I think that's really about all you can say on that, and just kind of shake your head and get your shit together, kind of.
Yeah.
No, well, like you said, no, they're new ownership though. It seems like that they can make a stand or make a not a stand, but take a position here that's a little more firm on stuff like that, and just not let it be something that they're associated with.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
We'll see. Well, I guess that concludes the show. There's so many other shows that we've done. Everything is up on our mock committees. We're still doing our Pro Football Hall of Fame Revisited project. In a couple of months, we're going to start the one on baseball. Because again, like I don't have enough stuff to do. Far more things are coming. Thank you all for supporting us. We're getting a little more feedback on our shorts, and we appreciate that. So thank you so much. And whatever feedback you have, be it good or bad, we'll take it. We want to hear about it. What can we do to sort of make this better? Thank you all for just supporting us. We do appreciate that. I guess I got to do that sort of corny shit, like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. But I'll man out. I'm struggling over here. With that, take care, everybody. Make today count because it never comes again. Later.